And we begin this morning with Senator John McCain. Senator McCain, you want an investigation, a bipartisan investigation. The president-elect says that this notion of Russians trying to be involved in the election is ridiculous. What do you make of that disconnect?
I don't know what to make of it because it's clear the Russians interfered. Now, whether they intended to interfere to the degree that they were trying to elect a certain candidate, I think that's a subject of investigation. But the facts are stubborn things. They did hack into this campaign, and they did it, I think, with some, at least what seemed to be effective, of a sort of every week or so there was new information. And were they hacking the Republicans the same way, the Republican National Committee? And if so, why didn't they? There's a whole lot of issues out there. It requires an investigation. The president has ordered an investigation for that. You're not going to find all this out in the next month between administrations. It's fine with me if he starts an investigation, but it's going to require congressional involvement. It's going to require in-depth. And by the way, the Russians have interfered in a lot of other elections. The Russians have hacked into some of our most secret military information. The Russians have been active using it as a tool, as part of Vladimir Putin's ambition to regain Russian prominence and dominance in some parts of the world.
So your point is both there is specific evidence that points you to this conclusion, and then there's a broader pattern of behavior that the Russians have been a part of.
And they have hacked. They have, in the case of a little country called Estonia, they basically shut down their economy for a while. They have intervened. Here's a fundamental fact that we may get to this later on. Vladimir Putin is a thug and a murderer and a killer, and a KGB agent. He had Boris Nemtsov murdered in the shadow of the Kremlin. He has dismembered the Ukraine. He has now precision strikes by Russian aircraft on hospitals in Aleppo. Let's call Vladimir Putin for what he is. Does that mean you don't deal with him or talk to him? Of course you talk to him, but you do it the same way that Ronald Reagan did, and that's from a position of strength. And by the way, the Congress of the United States is not acting very responsibly on that issue, which is the subject of another encounter with us, between us.
Based on what you've heard the President-elect say about Russia, he doesn't seem to share your view of Russia and speaking about it plainly. If speaking about it plainly is really the starting position in your case, then what do you say to the President-elect about his view of Russia?
I say I hope that he will listen to people like General Mattis, for example, his appointee to the Secretary of Defense. I hope that he would call people that he respects and who the American people respect, and get the facts. The facts are there about Russian behavior and Russian, not just hacking into the United States 2016 election campaign, but throughout the world. Vladimir Putin and the Chinese, by the way, and other rogue states view cyber as a form of warfare. And by the way, according to the testimony of our chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and others, that's the area, cyber, that we are not ahead, do not have an advantage over our adversaries. Nor, by the way, does the Obama administration have a policy or a strategy in this whole issue of cyber warfare.